I'm a 20-year-old male, and I work night shifts as a mobile security guard in Northern Europe. I have predetermined rounds and places that I need to patrol. Along with that, I have to drive all the alarms that I get from customers, which includes private people's homes, cottages, etc., as well as company buildings. So this one night at around 1 a.m., I got an alarm through our daughter company who offers alarm systems to private people. This alarm came from a neighboring city around 25 kilometers away from where I was. I accept the alarm and start heading there. The alarm came from a house in the middle of a forest. I get to the place and I see that there's no lights of any kind, so I had to rely on my company flashlight to see around. The flashlight was almost out of battery, so it wasn't very bright, but it was all I had to work with. Once I got out of the car, I circled around the house. That's when I saw an open door in the back of the house facing a pitch black dark forest. I opened the door and I went inside to see if anybody had broken in. I had my pepper spray at the ready as I was holding it in my hand against my waist at this point, because I had an eerie feeling and I had my flashlight in the other hand. Once I got inside, I checked the basement which the door led to, but I didn't find anything. Until I got a call from the company that forwarded the alarm to me. They had asked me if I had opened another door, since apparently there was an active alarm on a door that had triggered after I had already arrived. I told them no, and that it couldn't have been me that triggered the alarm. They then told me to check the whole place out again, as well as all the doors, which I agreed to, then hung up. Now, this really freaked me out since I know I didn't open any doors, and the fact that a door had started an alarm after I was already inside, well, that means that something had opened another door in the house somewhere else. So I checked the whole house, and I don't find anything out of the ordinary, and no other doors were open. So I go back to the door I came in through to close it, and I see footprints on the floor, which I know weren't for me since I had bigger boot prints than what the prints looked like. I kind of panicked a little bit, because the situation overall was getting hella creepy, and I assumed that there was somebody there somewhere hiding. I go around the place one more time, and again, find nothing out of the ordinary, so I cleared the alarms, locked the place up, and then armed the system and got to my car. I called the company to check if everything was okay, and no other alarms were tripped, and they said everything was fine, so I reported the case and then left. This probably doesn't sound that scary at all to you, but in the moment, when you're in the pitch black darkness all alone in the middle of the woods with a barely working flashlight investigating an open door alarm, while evidently some other door opens and closes while you're inside, along with appearing footprints on the floor, you would most likely be spooked as well. I've been doing this work for a while, so I have a good understanding how these types of alarms usually go. 9 out of 10 times it's just an IR sensor that detected an animal in the backyard, and all the doors are locked, so when all this happened that night, I knew it wasn't a false alarm. If I had to guess what happened, I'd guess that the back door was unlocked and someone came in. Whether they were there to rob the place or not, I don't know. But they came in, and once I got there, they hid inside a closet or something, and then left through the basement door when I went upstairs from the basement, which would explain why the footprints appeared after I'd already gone through the place. But whatever the case may be, I'm really thankful that nothing happened that night, even if there wasn't anybody with bad intentions there. I've had similar cases before, but none of those other times had doors tripping any alarms that weren't tripped by me. I want to warn you to always be alert in this line of work, and especially if you work alone. My name is Trevor, and I'm a 23-year-old first responder. I've been a firefighter/medic for about 5 years now, and I've seen it all. I also work a side gig for a private ambulance company. For those who don't know, a private ambulance company basically goes to hospitals and transports patients to either another hospital, nursing home, or their house. One night during a night shift, we get sent to a hospital for a discharged patient who is admitted for strange behavior. She was around 70 years old with a long history of psychiatric problems. We got the report, and the nurses said she was calm and cooperative the whole time. My partner and I introduce ourselves to the patient, and she smiles and introduces herself to us. She seemed pretty normal and nice. She looked very tired, and she had a weird odor, but other than that, she seemed normal. It was a 10-minute transport, so after I was done with the report, we just talked about how life was treating us all. We eventually get her to her group home, and we walk her inside. My partner and I are giving the caregivers a report on everything, and at the corner of my eye, I can see the lady giving me the 1,000-yard stare. I don't think anything of it until I noticed her pacing back and forth, just staring at me. For a little 70-year-old woman, she was moving fast and not breaking eye contact. I glance at her every few seconds just to see if she's still moving and staring at me. My partner won't shut up to the caregiver because she was young and cute. So meanwhile, I'm freaking the hell out about this old lady. Finally, the old lady catches me staring at her and stops moving. It's 90 degrees outside, and there's also no AC on, and I just became cold. What felt like minutes, the woman suddenly does a full sprint inside her room. My partner sees it, and she ushers me to go in there and see if she's okay. I was very hesitant, but my partner started heading in there himself, and I didn't want to leave him alone. The lights in our room were all off, with the only light source coming from the hallway. We walk in, and she's now sitting crisscross in the middle of her room back towards us. We call her by her name, and what happened next actually left a permanent scar in me. No bullshit, by the way. She turned her head all the way around and gave us that same stare that I witnessed earlier. Her eyes were fully black, skin was more pale than before, and her mouth was wide open. All of a sudden, she then started to scream with the top of her lungs. And it wasn't a typical girl scream. It was a deep, demented scream like no other. We both ran the hell out into the living room, with the caregiver not moving or even seemed concerned. We asked her what the fuck was that, and all she said back was, "Yeah, she does that a lot. Can you take her back to the hospital?" At first, we were like, hell no. Not until the woman came out of the same stare complaining about neck pain. Per protocol, we really can't refuse patient treatment. So we loaded her back up, and the whole time I knew she was staring right at me. I fought the urge to cry or look up. Unfortunately, I looked up, and she was actually looking right at me and smiling. She then said to me, "I really hate that place." She then turned around and didn't say another word. We then took her to her room and gave a report to the nurse. As we were leaving, the woman walked by the door and then actually said, "See you in your nightmares," then started laughing while walking backwards, not breaking eye contact. She wasn't wrong. I've actually had multiple nightmares about her. I really hope she gets the help she desperately needs, but I also hope I never see her again. I work in hospitality, a very popular chain here in the UK. I won't mention the name, but I can honestly say it's the best job I've ever had. I didn't think I would ever enjoy a job so much, especially working the night shifts. When I was being interviewed, everything was sounding amazing. That is, until they mentioned I would be working completely alone. I have to admit, that made my heart skip a beat, and I almost refused the job. But honestly, accepting the job was the best thing I ever did, and being there for nearly 2 years has proven that. I still can't believe I work there. The staff is amazing, the guests are 99.9% pleasant, and overall I'm very happy. But of course, where there's good, there's bad. Sure, I've dealt with awkward guests who come back drunk after a night out. I even had to kick out a few guests because they were being way too loud and disturbing other guests that were sleeping. So yeah, it's not all sunshine and roses, I admit, but that doesn't put me off my job. Until one night, where a guest made me question that very thing. It happened a few weeks ago. I arrived in my normal time to take over from the evening staff. The duty manager that was working took me to one side and gave me the rundown on what happened to her, as well as what happened to the staff that evening during dinner service. According to her, the two guests, a man and a woman who were staying in one room, were acting very strange. Apparently they had stepped out to have a cigarette, but the guy was disturbing the guests who were eating dinner. He did this by slamming his entire body against the windows that looked into the restaurant, also shouting profanities and making rude hand gestures. He then disappeared for a few minutes, then came back with a fire extinguisher that he got from our bin shed. Whilst all this was happening, the duty manager stepped out and gave him a warning, and then told him if they disturb any more guests or attempt to destroy the hotel property again, they'll be out. Apparently the guy made some empty threatening remarks, then disappeared back into his room with his lady friend. The duty manager assured me that it's highly doubtful that the strange couple will come out of their room for the rest of the night, and that hopefully everything should be okay. Oh, how wrong she was. After that happened, the duty manager and front of house staff left at around 11:15 p.m., and I then locked the doors and grabbed my panic button. Something that the manager insists us night workers wear as a precaution, and although I never had to use it, I'm very glad that I wore it that night. I knuckled down and got on with my duties, cleaning up, setting up continental breakfast, emptying rubbish bags, counting the till, restocking the juices, and defrosting pancakes, crumpets, and muffins. Little but necessary jobs. At around 1:30 a.m., I just finished mopping and getting ready to sit down to take a little break with some snacks and to also scroll through my phone in the restaurant area. I was just about to take a bite when all of a sudden I heard the hotel door then open. It was the couple from room 1 making their way outside to have another cigarette. Going by what the duty manager had told me about the guy, I didn't feel at all safe being alone in the open. So I gathered all my things and made my way to the office, where I could then log myself in and also keep an eye on them on the CCTV monitor. Some time went by, and the lady made her way back in, as she didn't look very well at all. She was walking so slowly like she was in pain, swaying while she walked, stopping every few steps. But she managed to get back into her room from what I could see on the monitors. The guy, however, he wasn't at all in a rush to go back to the room. He made his way back into the hotel with his key card, and I guess he decided he was going to explore the restaurant area. Okay, nothing alarming. At first, I thought he was looking for me, and I almost opened the door to let him know I was there. That is, until I looked up at the monitor, and there he was standing on a table and dancing. Now, I know, that doesn't sound at all threatening, but you have to admit, it's very strange behavior. So instead of opening the door, I decided to observe him for a little while more for the next hour or so. And well, his behavior went from strange to downright disturbing. As I said, he started off by just dancing on a table, then danced around the restaurant area. Then he made his way to the lobby area, where he decided to stand very still like a statue, and then a few seconds later move position, then stand still yet again. Again, not very threatening. In fact, I was even giggling a little just watching him doing whatever the heck he was doing. But the worst is yet to come. At around 2:45 a.m., the guy was still acting very strangely. He was constantly going in and out of the hotel, dancing some more and jumping around. Then he decided it would be a good idea to take the condiment tray, take a seat on the chair behind the desk, and then start drinking ketchup and brown sauce. Okay, now his behavior has gone from strange to a bit concerning. I wasn't about to open the office and tell him he needs to stop what he's doing and go back to his room. Being a lone female worker, I wasn't about to put myself in any kind of danger. But I wasn't in enough danger to call anybody. So again, I just watched him. As time went on, his behavior slowly went from concerning to now disgusting. At around 3:25 a.m., after he finished drinking the condiments, the man got up, took off his shirt, and then wiped away the sauce that was around his mouth. He then draped his shirt over the desk chair, then walked around a little bit until he came to a complete stop, and then turned his head towards the office door. Okay, now I'm scared. The way that he slowly walked towards the office door, the way that he made direct eye contact to the camera, as if to say, I know you're in there watching me. He pressed his whole body against the office door, then started kissing it whilst making direct eye contact with the camera. He then started putting his hand down in his shorts. And yeah, he was doing exactly what you're thinking. I felt sick. My whole body broke into a kind of frozen mode. Like I couldn't believe what I was looking at, but I knew I had to do something, and fast. So I pressed my panic button and I called the police. I wanted him gone. Time was passing fast, and pretty soon breakfast service would be starting, and I didn't want any of the other guests to be in danger. As I was on the phone to the police, I spoke in a kind of whisper talk so the guy right outside the door couldn't hear me. I told the dispatcher everything, and of course, they sent out a call for the officers to come to the hotel to see the situation. It was just before 4 a.m. when the police arrived, and the guy was still in the lobby area, but not doing what he was doing before. Instead, in a very dramatic way, he went down on his knees and then yelled, "Not me! Not me! I didn't do it!" And I then made my way out of the office, feeling safer now that the police were there, and whilst he was still on his knees with his hands above his head, I then told one of the officers everything that I told dispatch to. The officers tried to communicate with him that him and his lady friend need to leave the premises. There was a language barrier though. I think the guy was Polish, and he kept saying, "Not me." One of the officers asked to be let into his room to check on the lady friend, and as soon as I opened the door, we were then hit with the most foulest of smells ever. It smelled like pure urine and feces. There were bottles of beer scattered everywhere, as well as hard drugs on the bedroom desk. The lady friend was set up naked on the bed, and she was drenched in urine and alcohol. I've never seen anything like it. After much arguing and a lot more police officers arriving in a riot van, the guy was arrested and then put into the back of the van. A relative arrived just before 6:15 a.m. to collect the lady. They couldn't be more apologetic about what happened, trying to explain to me that both of them had mental issues and they've both been missing for days. I tried to be understanding, I really did, but after what I saw, at that moment, I just wanted them gone. By 6:45 a.m., the police and the couple were gone. The day manager arrived, and I had to tell them everything that happened. I also showed them what happened on the CCTV. They gave me a big hug, and they also praised me for how I treated the situation. But all I wanted to do was go home and take a long hot shower and go to bed. I was exhausted. It's been a few weeks, and I was told that the guy was charged for indecent exposure and that the lady is staying with a relative. I really do hope that the both of them get the help that they desperately need. As for me, I'm actually still working there. I'm not about to let one major incident make me leave a job that I love. But what it has taught me is to always trust your gut. If I didn't run to the office when I did, God knows what would have happened to me. Hey everyone, I hope you all enjoyed these stories. If you ever want to submit your own, you can do so at southerncannibal.com. Have a good night everyone, and remember to always